So you may have noticed that I'm not using my normal bars that I usually use. Today I'm using some scrap metal that was from the leftovers from my last few melts. And then I'm going to end up using some bars as well a little bit later on to finish off the melt, because I believe this Anthill is going to end up taking at least 2 pours. Actually, it's probably going to only end up taking 2 pours. It's not too big. So we'll see. So what I'm doing here is I'm preheating this piece of metal. If I were to just stick it in completely cold, all the molten aluminum in the crucible already would freeze up, and it could possibly crack the crucible, causing a big mess. Then also, each crucible costs about $40 to $60. Alright, so now I'm going to add a couple scraps from our last Anthill casting. These are pieces that broke off because I was impatient. So now this is another question I get a lot, is what exactly I'm scraping off here. This is called dross, is the technical term for it, but you can also call it slag. It's kind of improper, but what it is all the aluminum oxide that forms on the aluminum that I can't melt with this furnace. And it's also some other impurities, like there's some charcoal from my last melt that I had in here, and that's the gist of it. So I take all that out because it could block up the casting, and it also makes the base look not great. Sometimes I'll get big blobs of aluminum with the dross, and so I'll usually remelt this stuff at least once. Try to get the most aluminum out of it as I can. So this is basically what that melt is. This is me remelting that slag. A lot of it settles on the bottom, so I have to sort of scrape it out. Oh yeah, this one's taking a lot of aluminum. It's gonna be multiple pours. Wow. That all went
Sink.
down. Smoking. I guess that's mostly steam actually. Now everything's still nice and hot, so this next melt should be pretty quick. Took a ton of aluminum very fast. So I'm just scraping off this dross again. Just a little bit this time since I'm using clean ingots. That's basically all it is right there. Now I'm ready to pour. I've got my ingot molds here ready in case I have extra. So let's see. Is that it, or do we need to do a third pour?
It's sinking.
I think that's it. Yeah, just enough. So now while it's still hot, I'm gonna try and get some of this dirt out of the way and level out all this. I might actually do a quick melt. Try and make this base a little bit bigger. Yeah, because there's a lot of dirt here still. All right, I'm gonna do a quick third melt with only a single bar of aluminum.
That's bright.
Started a small fire over here. All right, this should be enough to just finish off the space. And I'll be able to spread that out with the tongs a little bit. it's already sort of solidified over here. Alright, so that's about as good as I can get it. Alright, so now I got everything put away back in here, so that way it cools down slowly and won't crack the crucible. And then I'm going to let this solidify a little bit more. Then I'll spray the hose on it, cool it down the rest of the way, and we'll dig her up.
Let's see everything up over there.
So now I got some proper work boots. This should be a breeze. So usually if they're smaller ones, you have to be really careful about digging them up. But since this one's so big, I'll be able to just go around in a big circle and sort of pry it out of the ground. But in my older videos, for some of my smaller castings, you have to go real slow, and it takes like a whole hour itself of just digging in order to get these guys out of the ground. But yeah, so it's just, I always thought that bigger castings would be harder, but it turns out they're actually a fair bit easier. Ground's real soft over here.
There's a lot of steam.
Yeah, so it looks like actually I'm gonna have to dig this one up the slow way. So right now I'm digging a hole next to the casting, so that way I can sort of dig it out with the hose and all the muddy water falls into the hole. I don't have to scoop out muddy water. Oops, there's a paper there. All right. Hose. Alright, so it didn't fuse properly, but I think, yeah, so this part's broken right here. But it still looks like a pretty nice sculpture, just like that, once we clean it up. And then we got the second part, which I think we're at the bottom of. Yeah. So I'll be able to pull this one up. Yep, there we go. So this one, I could make, I think, yeah, I'll make a base for that, and that'll look pretty nice. So now we're gonna go ahead and clean them up, show you what they look like.